Your goal in the Precision Landings Challenge is to make the best landing you can, as centered as possible in that green touchdown zone. Now, when it comes to judging a great landing, everyone has an opinion.
But here's what counts for this challenge.
Touchdown with the nose pitched up enough that you barely see the far end of the runway. Land as close as possible to that green target line on the center line of the runway as gently and slowly as practical. And stay on center line as you come to a complete stop. One video can't show everything there is to know about landings, but here are some insider tips to help new pilots learn landings
and help experienced pilots get oriented to this simulated aircraft.
The transition from flying fast to touching down slowly takes some planning. So the training flight displays floating green gates with target speeds to fly from one green gate to the next. It's pretty simple. 80 knots, then 70, then 60, 55 knots when you're over the grass in front of the runway. Control your speed using the pitch of the aircraft. To decrease your speed, pitch up. To increase your speed, pitch down. The flap lever is just to the right of the throttle control. Savvy pilots know flaps can slow the airplane gracefully. If you're descending at 80 knots and go from 10 degrees of flaps to 20 in this Cessna, just hold the pitch steady and the airplane will slow on its own from 80 to 70 knots while you sit back and watch. To land, you both slow down and go down. To control your descent, use the throttle. If you're getting too low, add some power. Getting too high, reduce power a bit. After you change throttle position, adjust your pitch to maintain speed. 1500 to 1600 RPM should be close to what you need on the descent. Try to leave the throttle at one setting as much as you can during the approach. So you know how steeply to descend, the floating gates make a path right down to the runway. There are no gates in the real world, but there are approach path lights, which you'll see to the left of the runway. 2 white and 2 red means you're centered on the approach path. More white than red, and you're high. More red than white means you're low. All red means you might go swimming. The lights work as an aiming point, too. When they appear stationary in the center of your windscreen without moving up or down, you know you're headed right for that spot on the runway. Here's another thing experienced pilots know. Pitch and power are related. If you're too high but also too slow, pitching down to speed up also gets you back on path without touching the throttle. Likewise, if you're both low and fast, just pitching up fixes both problems. Low and slow? Add extra power to level off while pitching down to speed up. You'll re-intercept the correct path. In the last half mile to the runway, adjust your aim point to the spot about 500 feet short of where you want your wheels to touch down. The training flight picks this for you, an orange line 500 feet short of the green landing target. As you approach it, pitch for 55 knots and adjust power to keep the orange line in the aiming spot on your windscreen. Don't forget you have to land on the runway centerline as well. Use the yoke and rudder pedals together to line up precisely with those white dashes. The trickiest part of transition to touchdown is knowing when to pull the throttle to idle and level out. For a normal approach in this Cessna 172, it's when your eyeballs are only about 10 feet in the air. At that height, you'll see about 60 feet between you and your aim point, which is about half a runway stripe. That's when you reduce power to idle and gently level out just over the pavement. Look out to the horizon, take a breath, and then slowly pull back on the yoke so the glare shield hides most of the end of the runway ahead of you as you touch down. After touchdown, steer with your feet to stay on centerline, flex your toes forward to apply the brakes, and stop. After you stop, you'll see your score. You can refly the training flight as many times as you want. The challenge flight is exactly the same as the training flight, but without the gates or the orange aim point line. We'll publish more videos and tips for all the challenges throughout the summer, so look for those on your Redbird Landing account whenever you check your challenge progress online. Good luck!